The tomb of a young couple was opened in China, but what was inside left archaeologists pale. Welcome back to Ancient History. Today, I'm taking you on a mysterious journey where history and archaeology intertwine to reveal stories that have shocked the world. Have you ever wondered what humanity has left behind after thousands of years? Some discoveries are so astonishing that just hearing their names is enough to leave you speechless. From the 1,000-year-old tomb of a Chinese couple preserving secrets of eternal love, to a 13,000-year-old cemetery that uncovers traces of the earliest known bloody conflict in human history, a story few dare to imagine. And that's not all. We'll also visit an 800-year-old mummy graveyard, buried deep in the icy cold of Russia, where the perfectly preserved bodies seem to whisper tales of a long-lost era. Curious about the secrets behind these incredible finds? And beyond these discoveries, what other historical mysteries have archaeologists uncovered in recent years? If you're ready to find out, don't take your eyes off the screen. Join me now as we dive into one thrilling historical story after another, each backed by surprising archaeological evidence. The 1,000-year-old tomb and the bridge of love to the afterlife. Have you ever imagined that, in the middle of a modern construction site, filled with dust and the roar of excavators, there could be a hidden love story that has lasted for over 1,000 years? If not, then let me tell you a real-life story that sounds almost too extraordinary to be true. It began in Hunan Province, China. As excavators worked tirelessly to clear the ground for a highway project, construction workers accidentally unearthed an ancient tomb, estimated to be over 1,000 years old. At first, everyone assumed it was just a typical burial site. But as archaeologists carefully brushed away the layers of earth, what emerged left them in stunned silence. 2 brick coffins, placed right next to each other. Almost as if 2 people were lying side by side, resting shoulder to shoulder in an eternal sleep. Immediately, the question wasn't, who are they? But rather, why were they buried this way? There were no headstones to reveal their names, no inscriptions to explain their identity. But one thing was unmistakable. Love was carved into every brick. This couple, though long gone from the world of the living, had been buried together, facing the same direction. And most astonishing of all, between their 2 coffins, archaeologists discovered a small window, tiny in size, but monumental in meaning. Experts have called it a spiritual bridge, a symbolic passage that ancient Chinese people believed could connect the souls of the departed. Not made of steel or concrete, but built from faith, devotion, and the desire to love each other for eternity, even beyond death. What would you think if such a bridge truly existed? An invisible bridge, one that no hand can touch, but anyone who truly loves can cross? It sounds dreamlike, almost mythical, but the ancient Chinese believed in it, and they left behind the proof, built right into the architecture of this tomb. And that's not all. Inside the tomb, a treasure trove of pottery and porcelain artifacts was discovered, many of them still intact after lying underground for more than 1,000 years. These grave goods weren't just symbols of wealth and status in life, they reflected a powerful belief in life after death, a life where people could continue to love and live, just in a different form. All the relics have since been transported to a museum, where they are now being preserved, studied, and displayed for the public. But perhaps the most valuable thing uncovered from this tomb isn't any artifact at all. It's the message the tomb leaves behind. True love, if it's sincere enough, will never be buried by time. A tomb, a bridge, a love story that transcends the boundary between life and death. And it forces us, the modern-day people, caught up in our daily struggles and endless half-hearted relationships, to pause and ask ourselves, does true love still exist? And if it does, are we holding on to it? If you believe that even after 100 or 1,000 years, true love can still endure, leave a comment below this video. I believe in that bridge. Who knows, maybe each of us has a bridge like that, waiting to be discovered. The 13,000-year-old cemetery that reveals the first bloody war in human history. Imagine yourself standing in the barren northern lands of Sudan, where the desert wind howls like it's whispering ancient tales. Beneath the golden sands and scattered stones lies evidence of one of the earliest known wars in human history, a conflict that may have taken place as far back as 13,000 years ago. Sounds like something out of fiction, doesn't it? But no, this is one of the most shocking archaeological discoveries in recent memory. It all happened in Jebel Sahaba, along the east bank of the Nile River, where researchers uncovered a prehistoric cemetery containing the remains of around 60 individuals. But this wasn't a peaceful burial ground. It was the aftermath of a battlefield, frozen in time. Excavations began in 1964, led by archaeologist Fred Wendorf with support from UNESCO. At first, they believed it was just a typical ancient graveyard, but the deeper they dug, the more chilling the evidence became. Skulls pierced by arrows, fractured bones, and signs of blunt force trauma. Men, women, children, no one was spared. Are you getting chills yet? Think about it. 13,000 years ago, when humans were still living as hunter-gatherers, no houses, no kingdoms, no armies, and yet they were already waging war. To understand what truly happened back then, scientists from the University of Bordeaux, France, and the British Museum conducted detailed forensic analyses. What they found was even more unsettling. The injuries didn't come from one single attack, but from multiple assaults, possibly spread out over months or even years. This wasn't some one-time skirmish. It was a prolonged, organized conflict, a strategic struggle with wave after wave of violence. And that raises the big question: who was fighting whom and why? While there's still no definitive answer, physical analysis of the skeletons provided a fascinating clue. The victims were sub-Saharan Africans, early ancestors of modern black populations in Africa, distinguished by their long limbs and broad noses. Their attackers, on the other hand, likely came from further north, North Africans, Levantines, or even Europeans, identified by shorter limbs and flatter faces. And the root cause of the war? Not glory, not gold, not power, just one thing: water. The climate at the time was brutal. Rivers were drying up, resources were disappearing, and when water becomes scarce, survival becomes a competition. So these two groups, two cultures, were forced into conflict, fighting over every stretch of land along the Nile that could sustain life. The 800-year-old mummy cemetery hidden in the frozen wastelands of Russia. Can you believe that in the desolate, icy wilderness of northern Russia, where there's nothing but white snow and bone-chilling winds, there lies an ancient cemetery filled with mummies buried like royalty? If that sounds unbelievable, then let me tell you a story that might just change your mind. At the Zelyny Yar archaeological site, researchers uncovered 34 mysterious graves, including 11 remarkably well-preserved mummies, their bodies surviving for 800 years thanks to the year-round permafrost sealing them in ice. But what stunned experts wasn't just the age of these remains, it was the way they were buried, with care, with ceremony, and with symbolism that remains deeply mysterious. One man, for instance, still had red hair clearly visible and skin that showed distinct features. His body was covered in copper plating from the chest down to his feet. He was laid on his side in animal furs, clutching an iron axe in one hand and a bronze key in the other. Think about it. What could that key open? A treasure chest? Or a sacred door to the afterlife? And that's not all. Archaeologists also found the mummified remains of a woman, a child, and 3 infants, all of them wrapped in layers of copper sheeting, carefully nestled in reindeer fur, beaver pelts, and bear skins. Most fascinating of all, the 3 babies were placed beside tiny bronze rings, arranged neatly as if to guide their souls into eternity. Who would go to such lengths to cover bodies in copper, if not for a profoundly important reason? Could this have been a spiritual ritual, meant to protect the dead from evil forces? Or perhaps a ceremonial practice reserved for the elite, those who held power or religious significance in their society? Before any of those questions could be answered, another discovery deepened the mystery even further. Inside the same cemetery, archaeologists unearthed a bronze bowl traced back to Persia, dating to the 10th or 11th century, along with intricately crafted silver jewelry, medallions, bronze drums, belts, and bracelets of exquisite detail. Persia and northern Russia are thousands of miles apart, so how did such foreign objects find their way to this remote, icy land? Do you feel what I'm feeling right now? That this isn't just a cemetery, it's like an underground museum, a frozen time capsule of a forgotten civilization, preserved beneath layers of snow and ice for centuries. Archaeologist Natalia Fyodorova herself once said, "Mummies have been found all over the world, from Egypt's deserts to the bogs of northern Europe. But this place, Zelyny Yar, is truly one of a kind. And here's the most haunting part. We don't know who these people were. We don't know how they lived, where they came from, or why they vanished. But the things they left behind and the way they buried their loved ones tell us everything. They had culture, they had beliefs, they had connections to the outside world, and they deeply valued both life and death. Could it be that we've just uncovered the Atlantis of the North? A once thriving civilization in the snow, lost to time, now remembered only through a few bronze rings, a ceremonial drum, and the copper-covered bones of its people? And what about those keys buried with the mummies? Could they be symbols of faith in a spiritual gateway? Or were they ancient messages left behind to tell us that death isn't the end? It's only the beginning of the next journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below this video, because who knows? The questions you ask today might become the clues that unlock the next great discovery. The 4,300-year-old tomb painting that brings ancient Egypt back to life. If there's any painting in the world that's managed to speak to future generations for over 4,000 years, it's not sitting in a museum, it's buried deep beneath the scorching sands of Egypt. And that's exactly what archaeologists recently uncovered at the ancient cemetery of Dahshur, located about 25 miles south of Cairo. It's not a grand pyramid, nor a lavish royal tomb, but rather a modest mud brick structure known as a mastaba. Small, just about 26 by 39 feet, yet inside lies a true cultural treasure trove. This tomb dates back more than 4,300 years to Egypt's Old Kingdom period, a time when the pharaohs were still building pyramids with nothing but manpower and sheer determination. The tomb belonged to Seneb-Nebef, a palace official, and his wife Idut. The couple was laid to rest in a dignified space, complete with 7 burial shafts and 1 dedicated shaft for ritual offerings. But what amazed archaeologists most wasn't the structure itself. It was the astonishingly well-preserved wall paintings, hidden beneath layers of mud plaster. The vivid artwork still holds its bright colors, and more importantly, it tells a lively, detailed story of everyday life in ancient Egypt. It's almost hard to believe, but within the dry desert soil emerged scenes of servants bringing offerings to a funeral, donkeys plowing fields, bustling market scenes, and graceful boats gliding along the Nile River. Even Seneb-Nebef and his wife are portrayed standing before an offering table, solemn, complete, and yet strikingly human. Dr. Stefan Seidelmeier, head of the excavation team from the German Archaeological Institute, called it a rare and remarkable find in Dahshur, an area famous for pyramids but rarely known for detailed wall paintings in the tombs of non-royals. This discovery sparks a fascinating theory. Could it be that Seneb-Nebef was more than just an official? Perhaps he was a lover of beauty, a man who valued culture, and who deliberately invested in preserving his life story for future generations. And if that's true, could he have foreseen, all those centuries ago, that one day the world would witness his life through these very paintings? But this is just one piece of a larger story. Since 1976, the German Archaeological Institute has been conducting long-term excavations at Dahshur, initially focusing on the great pyramids of pharaohs like Sneferu and Amenemhat III. In recent years, however, their focus has shifted to the tombs of ordinary citizens, and it's discoveries like this mastaba that have opened up a new perspective on ancient Egyptian civilization. They reveal that memory and legacy weren't reserved for kings alone. Ordinary people, if they loved beauty and knew how to document their memories, could also leave behind a mark that lasts for thousands of years. These paintings are more than just art. They are messages from the past, visual diaries passed down through the centuries. So let me ask you this. If you had a mastaba of your own to leave behind for future generations, what would you paint on its walls? A family dinner? A rainy afternoon in your hometown? Or perhaps the face of someone you love the most? As for me, I think I'd paint a family meal. Because I love my family and I love the peace I feel when I'm surrounded by the people who matter most. A 1,500-year-old tomb reveals shocking secrets of German history. Did you know that right in the heart of Europe, a tomb over 1,500 years old was just excavated in Germany? It's causing quite a stir in the archaeology world because of the mysteries it's unveiling. This isn't science fiction, it's real life. A time portal opening us back to the legendary migration period when European tribes moved en masse, shaking up the continent and reshaping its future. From the moment archaeologists started digging, it was clear this was no ordinary grave. Its owner was definitely someone important. A sharp sword lay beside the body, a heavy iron shield, and dazzling gold jewelry, all signs pointing to a powerful figure, perhaps a leader or high-ranking warrior of that era. What's especially intriguing is a gold coin engraved with Emperor Zeno's image, a symbol of the Byzantine Empire, raising a big question about deep historical connections between distant lands. But that's not all. Alongside this powerful individual, archaeologists discovered a giant cauldron holding 6 female skeletons. It's still unclear whether these women were wives buried with their master as part of funeral rites or victims of a heartbreaking sacrificial custom. This question remains controversial, but their presence clearly signals a complex and mysterious culture and belief system. Adding to the mystery, the tomb also contained the skeletons of 11 animals, from large livestock to dogs and horses, laid carefully as companions for the journey to the afterlife. In the culture of that time, animals often symbolized power and strength or were believed to aid the deceased in the next world. Sounds fascinating, right? All these details paint a vivid picture of the tomb's owner, not just wealthy, but someone with extremely high social status. And here's more. The surrounding area contains over 60 other unusual graves, forming an ancient and enigmatic cemetery. These graves are believed to date from about 480 to 530 AD, right when the Western Roman Empire began to fall and tribes like the Huns started invading formerly Roman lands. What truly amazes people are the exquisite glass artifacts found in the tomb, thought to be crafted by Gallo-Roman artisans along the Rhine River, the only place at the time capable of producing such delicate items. So this tomb doesn't just tell the personal story of a powerful figure. It also reveals a cultural crossroads, a blend of different peoples and traditional crafts. Are you curious yet? These secrets don't just deepen our understanding of a chaotic, turbulent period in Europe's history. They're living proof of a once glorious civilization that quietly vanished over time. Each layer of earth uncovered is like a page from a colorful, emotional story waiting to be explored. So, what do you think about the women in the cauldron? Did they really follow their master willingly into the afterlife? Or could this be evidence of strict funeral customs we don't yet fully understand? And what about the animals and precious items? Do you think they carry messages about power and belief from that era? If you know anything or have thoughts, don't hesitate to share. The strange red coffins that left archaeologists heartbroken. About 17 years ago, in a rural area of Henan Province, China, something unexpected happened. While digging the foundation for a new house, a local villager accidentally discovered 2 bright red coffins unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. Just hearing the words "red coffin" is enough to send chills down your spine, right? What's even more remarkable is that these 2 coffins weren't made of ordinary wood. They were crafted from a rare and precious type of wood that in ancient times only the wealthy and powerful could afford. On the outside, they were coated with a vivid red lacquer, so bright and intense that people compared the color to fresh blood, giving the coffins a mysterious and almost eerie appearance that left everyone in awe. Even more astonishing, despite being hundreds of years old, the red lacquer still looked fresh and radiant, just as vibrant as when it was first applied, no fading at all. This alone amazed archaeologists, a testament to the masterful craftsmanship of ancient artisans. You're probably wondering, this must be an incredibly valuable discovery, right? Sadly, no. When news of the 2 red coffins spread throughout the village, instead of being preserved, they were seen as bad omens, signs of misfortune. Superstitious villagers, gripped by fear, decided to burn both coffins immediately. Can you imagine the heartbreak of the archaeologists witnessing this? An important piece of history, a cultural treasure estimated to be worth about $43 million was destroyed in the blink of an eye. Had the coffins remained intact, experts could have studied them to learn the identities, genders, ages, and even causes of death of the people buried inside. These clues would have been incredibly valuable in shedding light on the history and culture of that era. But now, all of that has been lost to the flames, an irreplaceable loss no one can undo. Have you ever thought that sometimes ignorance and vague fears are exactly what cause us to lose our most precious treasures? What do you think about this story? If you were in the villagers' shoes back then, what would you have done? Would you have preserved the coffins or destroyed them? 900-year-old princess mummy preserves her face amid Arctic ice. Have you ever imagined that the face of someone who passed away over 900 years ago could still appear so clear and vivid, as if she had just lived yesterday? Deep in the frigid Arctic, where only eternal ice and bone-chilling cold seem to rule, archaeologists recently uncovered a miraculous discovery that has amazed scientists and history lovers alike. A princess's mummy with her face remarkably intact after nearly a millennium. At this point, many might wonder, how could her face remain so well preserved when mummies usually consist of little more than skeletal remains? The secret lies in the Arctic's permafrost, a natural freezer that perfectly preserves bodies like living statues frozen in time. The princess's facial features, teeth, and hair have retained an astonishing softness, despite nearly 900 years spent in deep freeze beneath the ice. Just hearing that is enough to send shivers down your spine, right? But what's even more extraordinary isn't just her face. It's the layer of greenish copper that coats the mummy like a mysterious armor used to protect the deceased on her journey to the afterlife. This ancient custom, little known to many, adds to the intrigue surrounding the culture of the hunting and fishing civilization that once thrived in this harsh region. One surprise for scientists was that they originally thought this area was reserved for men, as many male remains had been found there before. But this time, they discovered the mummy of a woman, a princess no less, a high-ranking noblewoman in this icy society. Though she was buried with only a few simple rings, her presence shattered earlier assumptions and sparked many questions among archaeologists. Who was this princess? What kind of life did she live in this challenging frozen land? Adding to the mystery, the nearby discovery of a child's remains raises further questions. Could this child have been the princess's offspring, or is it merely a coincidence? Russian and Korean scientists are now working together, analyzing even the smallest traces to gradually reconstruct the lives and relationships of these ancient people. One of the most eagerly awaited parts of this research is the facial reconstruction of the princess. Using cutting-edge technology, scientists will help us see a vivid image of this woman, taking us back nearly 1,000 years in time. You might not only see a beautiful face, but also sense the stories and secrets woven into every line, like a living historical film unfolding right before your eyes. And these are the archaeological mysteries that have stunned the world, from 1,000-year-old love still preserved in an ancient tomb to the traces of humanity's very first bloody battle, to a mummy resting peacefully beneath the ice for centuries. History never ceases to amaze us, does it? If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next adventure. For now, goodbye and see you in the next video.